They haven't released them. They haven't committed. Right. I love Zach Verhoeven. I think he's a great player. Yeah. He most of his time at Ottawa last year is like a super sub, right? Come on to the 80th minute, score a goal for them. Yeah. Right? Every time. Pretty much. Yeah. Hello, and welcome to the annual general meeting of the Lakeside Boys Soccer Supporters Society. My name is Mike Geldrich. I am the acting current president of said society. Beside me over here is Greg Henkelman, our acting secretary treasurer. Our vice president is currently absent, but I'm hoping he will show up shortly. I believe he is in town. Somebody's behind you. Oh, yeah? Hey, there he is. Speak of the devil. Our vice president shows up. And there are other board members in attendance, and some that said that they wouldn't be able to be here due to previous obligations. So hopefully to anyone watching along with the live feed, if you want to participate in this and not just spectate, post into the Discord, and hopefully we can have someone on the board the existing board monitoring that just to see if anything comes up. So for the camera, I would like to thank the Vic West Football Club for allowing us to hold our annual general meeting in their clubhouse this year. Annual review. I thought it was a pretty good year for supporting Pacific FC and, more importantly, the Lakeside Buoys. A lot of things happened. We started the year with a special general meeting removing the Highlanders from our constitution. Nonetheless, there was still some good support, or at least the roughly the same amount of support that there probably would have been at a Highlanders game, whether we had maintained that constitutional obligation or not. Go Highlanders women, hopefully this year. The season was very front heavy for Pacific FC. You know, I think before we even hit Canada Day, we'd hit 10 home games out of the 14 league home games. So felt like it was, a sort of 3-month league, even though they just kept playing elsewhere and sometimes having better results. But one of the most important aspects that came out of this year is that we started off small in that section trying to share it, and by the end of this season we've got a formal agreement made with the club that we will be supporting in the West End stand, and that is a huge change. Yeah, so huge that it completely changes every aspect, or a lot of the aspects of who we are and what we do and what we look like and how we support at games. It'll feel like starting over next season in some ways. So there is a lot of work in this off season for preparing, getting ready for what the physical logistics, what's going to work, where the club will have tolerances with things, what we can do, and what sort of freedom of movement and where we store things. The list is endless. So lots of off-season work to be done this year. Our membership numbers, I believe, stayed about the same. There were some people joining, some people leaving. But we also started the year with massive cash reserve due to the sale of this T-shirt from the club last year. Like that, it's saying put us in the black is, it's not like we were in debt before, but like, no, we had money to play around with. We weren't just looking at tailgates all of a sudden as our like primary source of revenue. And that allowed us to be able to get some flag repairs and do our normal things like buying orders of scarves and so on, which we've nearly sold out of. But as far as membership going forward, it'll be very interesting to see what that looks like as we move into an entirely different setup of, where we are. It's not the sort of open, portable bleachers, come and go as you want scenario, right? When all of a sudden you have seats. It could very well change a lot of it, and we will have to adapt as we have people sitting next to us in seats that might like that, might want to participate from the side. All of that will change because it's no longer the worst seats in the stadium where we're at, right? We'll be able to watch the game and actually, pay attention to the play and react in a way that people will also hear us because we'll have a roof over our head that will project across the rest of the stadium. We will no longer have the sun in our face watching any game ever again. We will have protection from rain. So it hasn't really happened since 2019, but like probably means they're not going to drag the beer wagon around again in the second half of a loss to just give us free beer. But you never know, right? Things to work on. The sort of free for all with flags has that chance to piss people off in a way now that it wouldn't before. I could go on and on and on about all the things that could work and might not work or will work. But all of it comes down to the way that you can end every single conversation ever about soccer by saying the two words, "We'll see." We'll see what it ends up looking like and in the stand, and whether it strengthens us and makes us like a much bigger group, or whether it fractures us into a bunch of smaller little cliques because of just less congregated into a big mass stand. There's some things we can control as a board of directors of a society, and there's some things we can't. And that sort of level of organic growth and change will be interesting to play with. So whatever the future in 2024 holds for the Lakeside Boys, I hope that it does nothing but growth and strengthens our numbers and welcomes and encourages the level of diversity of having different cliques and different people wanting to support in different ways, but allowing that to happen. To be able to meet our constitutional obligations, which are enhancing game day atmosphere, supporting our team, organizing events within the society for us to be able to mingle that aren't necessarily on soccer days, right? And doing some charitable work within the community. We do all those things, but one of the things that is most apparent at around this time of year is that the second that there are less games to go to, we just generally don't necessarily hold more events. And I think there's no reason for that. We are a social group. We should be doing that. We should be going and hitting peacock billiards and going bowling, or doing everything that we can to be able to have more hanging out, right? On a personal note, I can say that the sort of seasonal affective disorder, or the SADS of this year, has kind of hit me a little hard, but it only made it that much more apparent how belonging to a social group where we get together and do things like that is very important for me. And it's, I would like to see us do things like that more. Because then it's not about, I like to cheer this way and you like to cheer this way. It's like, let's hang out and, shoot some stick and just generally hang out and talk, not in a soccer atmosphere. It will strengthen us, I believe. At least I hope. I'm going to pass it over to our Secretary Treasurer now to talk about some of the actual factual membership numbers as well as our financial statement. Let me pass. Is that possible?
Or do you want me to switch seats?
Will we do questions after at the end? Or?
I would like to get the facts out first, and before the election, then have some questions.
All right. Let me know when you're ready. All right, I'm going to give an overview of our finances here and give some suggestions as treasurer first. So I'll be submitting this with our minutes for the meeting. If we look at our 4-year overview, in 2020 we had $1,340.50. 2021 we had $1,686.56, so that had gone up. In 2022, as we know, we sold the TIFO shirts, so that brought us to $2,371.55, and that's how we started the season. We currently have $1,597.62, which is a drop of $700 from last year, $773.93. So we'll talk about where that money went and came in, but that includes all of our accounts in our PayPal account and our Van City account, and a 50-cent donation from Andrew Fitzsimmons, which I cannot deposit. So I'm just going to add it to the float.
Keep it in the float, yeah.
So overall, 2023 was, as Mike said, a pretty quiet year for us. We have 7 confirmed new memberships, although there are some floating out there, I think, that I don't have emails for. And without an email, we can't put them in our database, the way our database is set up. So we'll have to double check those membership numbers just to make sure we've got them all filled in. But those people who did join us at home and on the road had a great time. We had some great road trips, and we generated a lot of interest as well. We had an opportunity at our last home game to run a booth where we had a chance to talk to people about what we're about, hand out some stickers, talk to some casual fans, and we collected votes for the Player of the Year, which was Kunle Dadaluk. And I would suggest next year, if we can get our same place that we had last year, might be a little bit easier to engage people towards membership. In terms of tailgates, we decided this year as a board to include 3 free tailgate meals with the annual membership fee, which could be purchased for $5 for non-members on those specific days to basically earn a membership. And we felt that we would do simple ones for these tailgates. In the end, we spent $664.79 on those tailgates, and we confirmed again $35 in new memberships, but we also made $229.48 in donations. So some of those might also have been memberships. So I'll have to double check. If we include those as tailgate income, we lost about $400.31 on tailgates this year, which if you look at last year, we lost about $252.86 last year, and we didn't offer them free. So that's pretty good for knowing that we were going to lose money on the tailgates. It's really not that much different than last year. TIFO and flags, we did spend some money on TIFO and flag repairs this year, which was $481.75. Last year, those expenses were $853.97. We did spend less money on TIFOs, but TIFOs and tailgates were where our major expenditures were as a group. We also have an inventory. We still have one 2020 winter weight scarf, if anyone wants to buy that, one 2022 summer weight scarf. We still have 3 2023 summer weight scarves, which sold very, very well this year. So that went really well for us. We basically recouped all our costs there. We have a large black and yellow LSB t-shirt, a teal blue LSB t-shirt, and a double extra large purple LSB t-shirt. So those are all money, of course, that we put forward. So that has to be included with our material property. We didn't do any additional swag this year, mostly just the scarves, but that's something we can look at for next year as well. Just want to mention that, as was the case last year, following the election of our new officers, we'll have to change signing authorities over to update if there's any major changes in the officers, particularly President, Vice President, and Secretary Treasurer. So where does that leave us? Our current accounts are $50 in float. We have a $30 US dollar float, which is about $41 Canadian at this time. $165.95 in our PayPal account, $1,340.01 in our Van City account, and the 50-cent donation from Andrew. So our total monetary assets are $1,597.62. So that's where we sit. So we are still in the positive. We have a positive bank balance, obviously, which as a not-for-profit society is very, very good. I mean, we have to remember we're not here to make a profit. But a lot of that, as Mike mentioned, was from the carryover from last year from our TIFO sales. So knowing we had that money, I think we were pretty happy to just deal with the tailgate expenses as they came along, and we were able to do whatever we wanted to do. There was really no limitations on us that way. So that worked pretty well. So my suggestions, number one, I want to make sure that if anyone does collect any membership money, we make sure we get those email addresses very, very clearly so we can make sure we add them to our membership mailouts. The second thing is all money received again, and we did better this year, but has to have a clear notation as to what it's for. Because at the end of the game, if I get an envelope with $65 in it without knowing where it's from, it's kind of hard to break that down. It's a little easier when people do PayPal because they usually make a little note. But I'm going to try to be a little more adamant on game days to have a ledger book where we actually have everything in that book. And a formal one, not just like scribbler paper.
Yes.
Because that's going to be something that we want to keep tightening up. And we've done a good job the last 2 years, but just keeping that going. As always, we want to reflect and consider what the purpose of our tailgates are. So as I mentioned, our tailgate expenses were $664.79. And we did get new memberships of $35, but we have to see that that's a pretty big gap between those. So if that's going to be the only way we look for membership, we have to reconsider how we do that. But it did generate interest. So and a good community before the games. So there is that positive side of it. So yeah, our confirmed income from dues this year was $145.23, which is about 10.7% of our total income. So our membership dues, normally with a non-for-profit, that's probably where most of your income is going to come from. So we did get a lot of donations. So that actually worked out pretty well for us. So overall, we're sitting fine, but with trends going the way they are, we don't want to just keep losing money and spending money. Eventually, we want to make sure that we have other ways to get our money back when we have those tailgates. So that is my report.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, I would love to see a motion from.
Motion to accept Greg's report.
Second?
Seconded. Thank you. Right now, before we move into the next thing, I'd like to open up the floor to questions. Okay. Would anyone show interest in me opening up the floor to questions? And if so, please vote on it or make a motion towards that.
Yeah.
All right. Motion accepted and seconded. Questions for this year's board of directors before we move into electing another year?
Thank you. Is that good enough? I think so. Going back to the exciting and really cool move to the West Stand, I assume there's going to be a whole lot more detail coming out at some point, but I want to understand the basic concept. I've already purchased a season ticket for next year in the supporter section. Does that mean I am now automatically going to get a transfer into somewhere in the West Stand? And if so, are we in a block? Or it seemed to me you were suggesting we might be just put in higgledy-piggledy in that stand. So if you could clarify a bit if we're going into a specific section or whatever.
Yes.
Oh, and a follow-up is Top coming with us?
Okay. I'll answer that in two parts. The first one about the stands. Obviously, nothing has been written down and publicized yet, right? Despite my, begging and pleading, hey, can we please really get this formalized here? They're like, people will. As an aside, so that everyone understands parts of this, is that a lot of people think that I work for the club at times, not necessarily in the society, but like on game days. And so they'll come to me and they'll complain. There's a lot of people that know that I don't work for the club, so they come to me and they'll complain. And the thing with that is that the club knows, or at least the front office, who needs to be said, had a complete and total overhaul across this season. We started the year with Brad Norris-Jones there, and the same sales staff, Hammy, Paul Hansen, everyone. And the end of the season, entirely different. None of those people are there. There's Darren. There's like Paul Byrne was the only factor of people that are still there that are not related to soccer ops, or Trisha, who is PR. As far as the sales team, entirely different, right? So I've been putting in a lot of time of getting to know those people and explaining who we are and why. And I'm not a thorn in your side. Please don't, just give me lip service. Like, we want to see this grow. And I feel I've demonstrated that, which also kind of led to why this move to the West Side happened, because I think it was after the Fan Appreciation Day where we were scorching in the sun all day. And, I'm still moving tables and various things around, I think an hour after the game had ended, dripping with sweat. And it started that conversation about like, why do you look like that? I'm like, because we're over there baking in the sun, waiting for like someone to foul someone so we could run over to the tiniest triangle of shade before we have to come back and start drumming again, And I think that was kind of that moment where it was like, okay, well, I want to make this move happen. So the logistics, as far as I've heard, and this is all completely anecdotal and hearsay, right? Because nothing has been written down. But again, leading to my comments earlier about spending a great deal of time in the off season working to be able to make these things happen, knowing what's going to work for people, like oh God, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but there's a little bit of Rumsfeld action here, right? The known knowns, the known unknowns, and the unknown unknowns, and we can only hit that stuff with that in mind, right? But we can't afford to be naive and just expect that everything is going to work out just fine, because we have plenty of opportunities to watch other clubs and see what works and what doesn't work. We have our own 5 years of experience to be able to say what works and what doesn't work. So the intent is right now that Section 119, which is the literal lakeside of that stand, will be general admission, and anyone who has a supporters season ticket will be in that area. And by general admission, I mean that there is no assigned seat numbers, right? And even if for ticketing purposes, Ticketmaster has to find a way to do that, that will not stand. That will be, no, within this area, there is freedom of movement and, first come, first serve. And we will do our best, obviously, as a group to deal with any sort of conflicts that, well, this is where I come we can find a way to be adults about this. But that is the intention, that it isn't like, no, you bought this seat, this is your seat, you're there. Well, I drummed this week, too bad. We're not gonna be idiots about it. But it's going to take working with the club to be able to find a way to make this work so that we are, again, being able to bring proper de-escalation and self-policing into this so that we don't need to cause any issues for security or anybody else or any of the neighboring fans that are beside us. With respect to Top, at times it can be complicated trying to come to any sort of agreement with them because they specifically don't want formal organization behind themselves. But I have had a conversation with every single one of the, known top main players to be able to be like, this is the plan, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, because it's an all or nothing, right? It was very clear from Paul Byrne, there is no moving over to that section unless all supporters are moving over to that section. That is what they would want to do to be able to, create the East End just being open and free and, do whatever they want to do and not be like, okay, well, we got to keep this one area for people with drums. The comment from most of the people with Top is that, yeah, we'll come over, we are who we are and we do what we do. If we can do that over there, then what's the problem? If we're told that we can't drum, then we're going to find somewhere else to be. And I'm like, yeah, why I wouldn't even be trying to pretend to organize this on behalf of everyone over in the existing supporter section if I wasn't doing it for everyone who's been a fixture of the supporter section since day one and moving forward. That to me is the plan. The actual technical and physical logistics of where drums will be, who's doing flags, how we can do smoke in a way, all the actual parts of the spectacle of game day supporting is to be ironed out, and obviously will, I don't want to say flying by the seat of our pants, but we'll have to be calling audibles for the first few games because we just don't know. We don't have anything to really go by. What we do have is that we have a shared list of songs that are known that people start singing at a moment's notice and everybody kind of knows the words that can go along with it, and now that will project across the stadium. So if you have any intention of drumming, practice, because it's going to be a lot more audible. We're not just going to blend in anymore, right? And that might be something that is going to become very apparent as this turns into a thing. Beyond all that, I can't really speak anymore from Top. I saw Tobias yesterday, and he's off to Brazil and will be back, I don't know, in the new year. But we're also trying to find ways, I'm also trying to find ways to be able to not completely disenfranchise what we've created with a supporter kid zone, if you will, right? Which partially to usurp the family zone, but I'm going to make that be a fixture of the family zone next year so that we have sort of an, adult supporting typical setup in the stands and what's going on, but then in the already established kids can run free and cartwheel and do whatever they want. I'm going to bring some flags down there, and I'm going to find ways to be able to incorporate that. And who knows, even with like a big flag, right? Like if you have a 10 by 10 flag in the stands, it's just not going to work the same way in anything during play, right? So we can find ways to work on that. And every time I'm over at Starlight Stadium, I'm standing in that area and I'm envisioning everything that's worked and hasn't worked across the past 5 years and taking notes. So much so that it's too much going now. But believe me when I say that, until opening day next year, there is way more work than I think we've ever had in an off season up to the inaugural year. And figuring out what can work and what cannot work. And we have the added benefit of not being completely surprised at the concept of there being someone like Top, like we were in 2019. You know, I saw for a lot of people that Marcel de Jong signing announcement thing burst a lot of bubbles in people's minds of what they thought it was going to be like as soon as there was Top there singing. And I'm a big fan of Top, and ate a bit of stick from some people for wearing a Top shirt on Fan Appreciation Night. And I wore it because Top are fans of PFC and I appreciate them. I think that they add a level of culture and diversity to the club that we wouldn't have otherwise. And I think that's great. And it shows that we can find ways to cooperate and grow organically outside of, and change is possible even if it's uncomfortable for some at times. I hope that answers your question sufficiently. That was a big long rant. Yeah? Perfect. Any other questions? Does anybody else want me to soapbox out for them?
I just want to add a comment to that as well, more than a question. Just a comment to add to that is I think it will be an evolving process when we move into the new section. Things might change. We changed over 5 years. In some ways, it's not a restart, but we're restarting a new place, and expect changes. Could be game over game, could be year over year. We're in a new section. Does that become permanent? Does that become, oh, it doesn't work, or there's issues we didn't predict? You know, because we're closer to other fans. And then we're also looking at growth, right? Growth will also bring change, and in a new section, that means changes, as you said, might be uncomfortable. So just remember, whatever does come, it's not set in stone. So communicate with us, right? You could have back channel complaints, or you can just talk to Mike or I or anyone else, or put it on the, our Discord and be like, hey, so I noticed this. We don't notice everything, right? I'm at a very different perspective at games than the rest of you, and that's going to change a lot for me. If I'm going to get a stand, this, that, no, those things are important right now, but that changes, right? But you see stuff we don't see. So again, flags. If you're there, big flags, no one can see and it's causing issues, complaints from behind. If you're in the back of our section, let us know, right? That's how it grows. That's how it becomes sustainable and prevents it from being a problem. But anyways, the 2 points were communicate and then expect it to be a gradual process and a changing process. And that's going to include growth pains. That's all I wanted to say. It was kind of doubling down, but I felt that was important.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate that. Because it will be a process, right? And the most important things to remember is the 4 points of our Constitution, and that we all ostensibly want to see this succeed, right? And we also know from this whole 5-year process that everybody might want something different out of the game day experience, and that just helps to make us grow and be diverse, right? It's great if we all want something different out of it and want to take different things. So I'm gonna gently segue into acknowledging the contributions of the 2023 board and tied in with a plea for more participation and less spectating, to a sense. And large part of that is that almost everybody that is here right now has either been a part of the board or will more than likely be a part of the board at some point, because they care deeply about this, right? That's why you're paying attention, watching on this on one of the sunny fall Saturdays that we might actually have. And because people will want different things from this, and we want this to grow, we have to be ever vigilant about being welcoming and not gatekeeping. And it's tricky because a large part of Canadian identity is sarcastic sass. And exactly. And it seems ridiculous that I'm bringing this up, but there is something to be said about that, because when I do hear as the president, whether it was before my time in the group or not, I will hear from anybody anywhere if they've ever been wronged by anyone who was a Lakeside Boys member, and I will really hear about it. And that is that moment for me to be able to change what we like, who we are, say that we've changed, and not make it just be lip service. And I can appreciate that at times. I mean, I feel like I might at times push things that we do more to what suits my needs or private interests more than they might the group's interests. And I always welcome people to be able to like reel me in if that ends up being a thing. Because there's a certain amount of like, unless someone says no, or unless someone jumps in and does something otherwise, I'm just going to do it, right? Having been a roadie and doing stage stuff my entire life, I kind of have that work ethic of first to arrive, last to leave, kind of built into me on things and make sure it goes. And it's not just about coming and watching the soccer game to me in this role. It really is about being like, help make this be the greatest spectacle in town on the day that it's happening, right? So that other people are like, man, I am really missing out by not being there, right? And knowing that it is more than just a soccer game, right? And it has to be more than just a soccer game, because if it wasn't, anyone who actually gave a crap about soccer would already be there, and we'd never grow or anything like that. It's not about being a part of the club, but like, there's that meme of, Apu jumping in front of a bullet for some random guy. Yeah, I happily will jump in front of anything that the club is putting out there, generally speaking, because for me, I'm like, I just need it to grow. I need it to be there. And at times, creating that balance of independence is tough, but I think it's really important for us as a supporters group to maintain a level of independence from the front office and to push back when it comes. And that might mean at times being activists towards causes, because we know that they're a corporate entity that needs to do sales, and they might not be able to say things, even if they need to be said. And that falls generally on supporters, right? The supporters tend up being that moral compass of a club and that club's identity. And I think that's an important thing for us to also keep in mind as we move forward into the 2024 year. We want to be able to be inclusive, but we also need to be able to like navigate the gauntlet that the world is in right now, where a large part of it is, pick a side and hunker down. And there are soccer fans on both sides of the political spectrum, and it's very easy to be able to get in gripes on that, but still enjoy the same team. And I don't think that for us as a society, we can either choose to be big tent and welcome anyone who wants to support Pacific FC and try to keep it at that, and allow smaller cliques to form within the group, and that being okay. Or we can narrow our stuff down and just be a smaller group. And if that ends up being the interest of the people that want to retain membership in Lakeside Boys Soccer Supporters Society, then that's the thing. I can only say what my drive and interest is, and I think that our best plan is to be that big tent, to really aim to be able to go beyond all that stuff and to just say it's about this, right? And know that everyone who shows up to any random social group or church congregation or anything like that, they're not all necessarily singing from the same hymn sheet, and that's great, because that diversity just welcomes more people, rather than being like, no, you are this cookie cutter or you're not, right? I'm tired of talking to people that are like, there's only one way to support. That's demonstrably not true. And in this town where we will only have sort of a limited numbers, we're on an island. It's only going to grow so much of people that show up to game days and do that. We've only got that pool to play with, and interest other people in coming out. And if we seem so closed doors, right, that we stick on our positions on things, we're not going to be welcoming to other people. However, please get involved in any way that you want and welcome other people to get involved, right? One thing that has happened in the background that I didn't mention because it was less of a this year as the year before is that on the back line, we have created a sort of committee structure to Lakeside Buoys. And that was at the advice of much larger groups elsewhere, right? Just creating that structure to be able to have an avenue for the interest that people might have, right? If you are really into tailgates, great. Like, let's do that. And it's not so formalized that we actually literally have committees with named people having their meetings and so on, but it's about having the framework there so that it can grow into that and so that people can get involved with any interest level that they have of what they want. And since the creation of that, I've left it open on Discord, all of this stuff taking place on our Discord server, if I hadn't mentioned that earlier. That anyone who is a past board member will always be a committee member, right? Because they obviously have shy of, as long as their membership in the group remains active. So that we can pull from advice and experience of people that have already been in those leadership positions and know what's going on and what doesn't work, right? Especially if they still have interest in doing things like whether it be tailgate or flags or songs or merch or what have you. So for anyone watching this or in attendance right now, if you have anything that you want to be more involved in with the Lakeside Buoys Soccer Supporters Society, reach out and get involved, and even just being put into that committee role on Discord, because it allows you to see a lot more of what's actually happening and get even more involved. We just don't post all of those things open to all members because we want to be able to make sure that the Discord can be a public server so that if people are thinking about joining the Lakeside Buoys, they can just do that. But so that we also don't have fans of other groups joining our Discord server and seeing all our TIFO designs and plans and everything we're doing that. We have to kind of create a setup of being able to do that when everything's still online. Hope that wasn't too rambly and makes sense for most people, but long and short of it, if you have interest in getting involved in any way, please reach out and we'll find the way to be able to help get you involved and meet more people, because we do live in a place that is famous for being hard to meet people. Yeah. So with that, I'd like to acknowledge. Oh, sorry.
Are we still on questions?
No, I think we.
Oh, I missed that we ended it formally.
Yeah. Yeah, it was more about now acknowledging and thanking everyone who had been part of the board of directors in 2023. And now I'd like to proceed into the part of. Well, I was going to invite our current ombudsperson up here because that is part of the role, I believe, for him to be able to run that section of our society right now. Yeah. So, Big Country Steve.
We have nominations online as well.
It's like the one thing.
It includes you have to drink scotch.
Oh, okay.
Not on camera.
You want me to sit somewhere and do something?
I can move.
Yeah, I think if you come here and then run the election proceedings from here.
Do you have a list?
I got a list of the nominees right here from Discord.
Okay.
But we can also add any.
So are we gonna put a time limit?
Do you want to pass this under the wire?
Nominate still from the internet?
Yeah,
The only interwebs?
if this is the first that people are hearing about this on the live stream and they want to nominate people, please get into the Discord channel right now and put your nominations in.
How much time should we give them?
My clock says 2:43. I would like to close all nominations by 2:50. I know that's 7 minutes, but 7 minutes goes a lot faster than you think. In a lot of ways.
While we wait, I will read what is already previously nominated from our Discord. As our ombudsperson gets ready, I think he was surprised by his role. So Mike G. Geldrich, the current president, has been nominated as president. Greg has been nominated as secretary. I have been nominated as vice president. Leela has done kind of the class action and nominated all current members back to the board. Leela has also been nominated to the board as well, and Anthony as well, if you did not know, has been nominated to the board. Again, those were general board positions unless I specified, and we will give it a few more minutes in case anything comes in. I do have it open right now, but I'll hand off the mic to our ombudsperson.
Oh, he's got his own.
Oh, I got away.
Never mind.
So is there any contested positions, or do we?
I would like to acknowledge that both Phil Hoover and John Cameron have declined the nominations and will not be decide to not be on the board in this coming year.
Now, Steve, you can ask whoever's been on that nomination list if they will stand.
Perfect. So is everyone who was nominated accept their nomination?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. That was easy.
This is going to be so easy.
This is gonna be. Is there anybody else who'd like to be on the board? Any other nominations?
He's okay.
Yes, I would like to say I did speak with Jermaine earlier, and I know he's watching this in between coaching his girls' games. He said that he would be okay being on the next board as well. He would accept the nomination.
I'll accept that in lieu.
Verbal compliment.
In proxy.
Any other nominations? Anyone else want to get join in?
No, I think we're good here. We just have to wait for our timer 5 minutes.
Nothing is coming
timer?
through or being currently typed in Discord.
No.
Anyone have any?
So you have to.
Yep, no, I'm happy to wait.
So I got like 3-4 minutes basically.
Yeah, tell a story, Steve.
Well, I'll take the time to thank everyone who got involved in this organization last year and made it so much fun for another season. I guess I have
Did the ombudsperson have any report from this past year?
I have no report. No.
Just curious.
How long's the ombudsman term?
People were mostly good. I don't know actually. How long's my term? Do I have a term?
The double check confirm. I believe it's a year at a time, but I'd have to double check to confirm.
Yeah, I meant to bring the copy of the Constitution.
Would you like to be the ombudsman next year? I can make that happen.
Just wondering. I didn't know. I assumed you got hired on to do this role at some point, but I didn't remember. what
Last
it was.
year, yeah.
I think it's a 50-year term.
Yeah, bastard. I'd be happy to pass it on to someone who was interested to take it over. That would be fine.
It's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. You could probably do better.
Have
More
you
work.
dealt with Drew yet?
What's that? No,
Do you know what Drew
he's
yet?
not a member, right?
He is not a member.
Well, that makes it real easy to deal with.
We still
So
do
now
it.
you want to be a member, or really be the board ombudsman?
Yeah, he is not currently a member.
But you get blamed for all this stuff, right?
Sure do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit awkward that way. It's all over the interweb now too.
I know we're here a lot, but
Is everyone going Friday night
Yes.
to the game?
Yeah.
Everyone got tickets?
Okay,
I think we can bring this to
we have at least 2 more
2
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes
So-
to go.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple more due to the lag in the feed.
how many days do you think we gotta wait for PSC's end of roster announcements? Everybody else has done it.
That's a very good question. I've been wondering about that.
Release anything?
I
Not,
don't think they've got it
not
yet.
quite yet. I believe they're close on that though.
Yeah, I think Forge and Calgary are probably sitting there trying to figure out like what they have to do to be able to like have a team in February.
Yeah.
Right. that's different from everybody else. A team in form, you know.
Well, Vancouver
When's that
went
draw?
first, right?
That's like any day now, isn't it? Like tomorrow, maybe even. The CONCACAF champion draw. It's coming up real quick.
We're not in it, so I'm not paying attention.
Yep.
Well, is the MLS playoffs still going now?
Yes.
It sure is. It's just finally started back up
Tomorrow
again. I was
night.
like, oh yeah, this is the
Does the
stupid.
winner
Like,
of the MLS usually get a spot in the Champions League?
Yep, I sure do.
So they can't do the draw until after that?
I think they have to wait until it's done. But like, is it just 2 more weeks? Like I
They're
honestly
in
have lost
the
track.
like they're more towards the conference finals. I'm not 100%
Yeah.
sure. So like
The
quarterfinals or
Draw is on the 13th of December.
13th. Okay.
So hopefully MLS will be done by then.
Well, I think it has to.
it's scheduled.
Or at the very, even if it isn't, they're like winner, cup winner, right? That's your ball.
We have
Whoever
1
that is.
minute left for any nominations.
1 minute.
Still some.
There's
How much do I have to?
no, take it.
I'll buy some.
Yeah, there's also magnets, octopus.
That's cool. Any nominations? All welcome.
Small but quiet.
Yeah.
Supporters are known for being quiet.
Yeah.
Sure you don't want to be ombudsperson? You're not sure?
I was just
Sure.
intrigued because I missed this point of news. I didn't realize you were the ombudsman.
Yeah.
I missed this somehow.
So he doesn't have to attend meetings, but he can choose to. And then if there's any sort of elections and then issues with members.
If you need any mediation or anything like that.
You don't want me, no. I'm opinionated, and I think that's a problem with being a non-voting member of the board. That's
We-
not helping us.
We have hit our time limit, so we are going to close, I would assume.
There we go.
Yeah,
Make a motion to close nominations.
Seconded.
Seconded. All in favor? Okay.
Is this the vote to close the nomination?
I will.
Yes.
All right, nominations closed.
Nominations are closed. So
Carry on.
we can vote on the to accept the appointments. All in favor?
Can you please read the nominations in the order of officers, so we know what we're talking about?
Okay.
So, who is nominated for president?
They're not in order, yes.
They're not in order.
It's just Mike.
Mike.
Wonderful.
And where's the rest of the list?
By acclamation.
No, you do it one at a time. You
Yeah.
have to do them separately, one at a time.
Vice
So,
president,
for
I think.
president, the nomination is Mike. Are there any other nominations? No. I
Oh,
declare
okay.
nominations closed. Thank you. He's in complaint.
I was thinking.
want to be the ombudsman?
Yeah, exactly. Would you, you're making a really good interview for the job here. I was
You don't want me getting in the way of a dispute.
I was using the expedited version of the version. I need a list then.
Yeah, so Mike will be first,
Yes.
I'll be second.
Okay,
Like, I'll
Vice
be-
President.
Yeah, Vice President.
Andrew,
Dean.
all in favor of Andrew being continuing as VP?
We don't vote on it.
We don't vote. Okay.
Yep. No.
Declare. Okay.
And then
Gregory as treasurer,
There's 2 positions, secretary.
secretary, and treasurer.
Are they separate?
Greg.
Well, they're in there as secretary treasurer, so you wanna say both names.
When it came down to dealing with the societies, registries, and everything, they prefer for it to be the same person, but it doesn't have to be, right? And so we had board discussions in the past about if it was a problem filling the roles, that we would separate those 2 roles, but it isn't a problem for Greg in 2023, and if the nominations all stand, it probably won't be in 2024.
So the rest would be for the board members. But again, we
Yep.
got 2 step down, so we'll have an empty space.
All right. So we've got Leela as a at-large board member. Kevin. And who else is at-large?
Anthony. would be
Anthony,
the new one.
the third one. And we've
Jermaine.
and Jermaine. So we got 4 at-large. I guess I'll declare them appointed. All in favor?
We should vote if
Each
anyone.
individually?
Yeah.
You're supposed to.
Okay.
We can make a motion to expedite it because there's no other nominations.
There's a comment
Okay,
from Ted.
the question is, how many are in the Constitution? How many at-large positions?
In the Constitution, it says that the board needs to be, I believe, a minimum of 5 members.
Right. So if you have 5 or less, it's still acclamation. If there's only 5 or less nominated, then you're
They're acclaimed.
acclaimed, and we just thank you very much.
All right,
Yeah.
so I can consider them acclaimed. Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to join the 5th, be the 5th board member?
Well, we'll have to put it out to the board, I guess. That would have to be a motion for the next meeting.
Yeah, I guess
recruit.
nominated.
New business.
But if
Sounds
someone comes to the idea they want to, they can reach out and we can look into the processes to make that happen.
I was thinking I had enough power to reopen the voting. If somebody said
It would
yes.
just have to be a motion made to be at the next meeting.
Okay.
You know?
Well, I would encourage anyone to join the group and help out.
So, does anybody have any dispute over the elections? Opening it, no? So then we have to vote to close it and accept the results. So I make a motion to accept the results as they are now.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None?
Carried.
Unanimous.
Note that was unanimous, please.
Yes.
So now
Okay,
open the floor.
for
to
that
business.
brief second with there were nominations on, no one said anything online, right? I just want to make that clear.
There was not a
We-
single additional
Okay,
nomination.
I just want, throwing it out there for anyone that did, nothing came in late, we've now documented that, no
All
one
good.
submitted
It's too late.
anything.
We've accepted it anyway.
Exactly, so,
But now
for posterity, there was nothing, we did not ignore anything. Thank you. All right, continuing on with the agenda. Thank you, Steve. You fly by the seat of your pants well. On to new business. I would like to open it up to everyone in attendance or watching online if there is any new business that they would like me to put onto this agenda right now before I go into anything that I have to say.
Yeah, I can. One thing I wanted to talk about, we've talked about it briefly on the Discord, is new memberships and looking how to do that. I had mentioned in the Discord the possibility of maybe looking into not just our tailgates, but maybe in addition or in replacement of, that's not my point right now, is having maybe a booth set up in the stands. Similar to what we do when we have our Player of the Year nominations, whether we do it at select games or every weekend game, because I know it's hard to do on weekdays if there's a Friday game or whatever. But it might be worthwhile investing the time, because it doesn't take any money really, to work with the team to be able to set up a table or booth and have 1 or 2 members sort of volunteer to pitch, do memberships, explain what the group is, and that you do not have to support in any specific way. You do not have to join the drumming or the chanting, or you can join the board and sort of work towards driving a membership. We see at other clubs, the membership of their supporter section is similar at some, like Valor. York, we're doing way better than it seems, in terms of just pure numbers, not a quality judgment there. And then we have some where I'd say we're really falling behind, and some of that's just due to city size, like Ottawa. But if you look at a comparable market like Halifax, so trying to find new ways to draw members is a big thing that I want to start moving and discussing and looking towards. We've also talked a little bit about off-season activities. If we want to talk about those, we've talked about maybe doing some casual footy play, maybe a FIFA like tournament or something like that, or sorry, EAFC, but something formal. We don't have to agree. It could be bowling, could be nothing, right? That's up to the group. And then that's all we need to do for now. But I want to, before we get to the season, start thinking about how we can start attacking the new season with the new spot and see it as an opportunity.
Thank you, Andrew. So I've added onto the agenda under new business membership recruiting.
Which then would be a motion towards the board for the next meeting.
Yeah, exactly. And then for off-season activity planning. The floor is still open if anybody else has anything else that they would like to be brought into new business.
Second.
Okay, I have heard a motion to adjourn and a second, so I'm going to take that as there is no other calls from within the room for new business. And then acknowledge the motion to adjourn and seconding by the members in attendance. Thank you, everyone. To recap, the board of directors for 2024 will have me, Mike Geldrich, as the president, Andrew Fitzsimmons as the vice president, Greg Hengelman as the secretary treasurer, with so far barring any future process, the members at large include Kevin, Leela, Anthony, out of camera, and Jermaine, not in attendance, but welcome to be here. Thank you, everyone, for attending the annual general meeting of the Lakeside Boys Soccer Supporters Society for 2023, and please join us in 2024 and, up the Tridents.
Up the Tridents.
Peace. Thank you for attending and watching.